Hello, everybody, and welcome to Gateway. We are very excited to have you here today. We want to talk a little bit more about our program, what makes Gateway exceptional, and how you can learn more about us and the process of exploring Gateway for both your family and your child. My name is Laurie Gruhn. I'm head of Gateway. I'm in my second year as head of school. And before that, I was an educator in the city for 37 years. So I've had the pleasure of working with students who graduated from Gateway, as well as having the opportunity of bringing students to Gateway when we realized that they really needed a different way to learn and a school that fully understood what it means to have a language-based learning difference. Beside that, I am also the mother of an alum. My daughter graduated from Gateway in 2020, and it was, to put it mildly, and I'm sure we're going to hear this later on in this webinar, a life-changing experience both for her and our family. We went from having a child who occasionally struggled, who often saw herself as somehow different and not quite understanding why, to a child whose shoulders were always held high, who understands exactly who she is as a learner, and most importantly, understands exactly what she needs to thrive in an educational setting. And that is because of Gateway. At Gateway, you are going to, we teach our students through direct, explicit, multisensory instruction. We have teachers who are expertly and regularly trained specifically in working with students who need them. We work with students who have ADHD, who have dyslexia, and we want our teachers ready to meet them because in many cases, our students haven't had the success they are more than capable of having. They're very capable, they're very bright, but they learn differently. And if they're going to come to us, we want to make sure that they are ready to thrive. And that comes first and foremost from absolutely excellent Gateway training. To speak specifically about the student experience, I want to introduce you to my friend and colleague, Judine Somerville. I'm going to get very personal and say our children graduated and we're in the same year. And we're in the same class for several years, but we recognize that most of the people on this call today are parents. And she is going to speak to you from the parent experience, what it means to have a child who learns differently and what it means to get him or her to the place they need to be. Judine, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. This has been an incredible experience. Gateway gave us life, saved our life, and wings to fly. And I say that with such sincerity, and it has been an amazing experience. I remember hearing from the teacher that Bobby had a disability, and I think my heart just sank to the bottom of my feet. I didn't know what to do. I kind of didn't know how to do it. And I began to search for a school that I thought would meet his needs. And I searched several schools before we landed in, I'd like to say, manna from heaven with Gateway. Because Gateway really changed our family's life for the better. And I remember feeling hopeless, going to all these different schools and talking to all of these people in admissions, and it just did not sit right with me. Just some of the things that they were saying, and I just thought, this is not it. But when I got to Gateway, and Bobby came home the first day, I think he spent like a couple hours in the classroom, and then I came to get him, and there was a pep in his step. His eyes were open, and I thought, oh my gosh, I think we're on to something. And it was because of the way that the teachers teach, the curriculum. They really take it upon themselves that if your student doesn't understand what's happening in the classroom, they take it to another angle, to another level, until your student understands what's going on in the classroom. Who does that? Gateway. It's been amazing. So the second time he went, it got even better. I thought, oh my God, we're onto something. I told my husband. And then we finally said, we both agreed he should go there. When I tell you I would do bell kicks after I dropped him off from school, I did bell kicks down 61st Street because I thought, this is great. Could this be true? He's kind of getting the work. He's, communicating. He seems happy here. And I thought, oh my gosh, I went in search of Gateway like I would do for my next Broadway show. I was serious. And when I met the fabulous, amazing Ellen Grayson at the admonition of another parent that said at the 11th hour, I was on Columbus Avenue, I will never forget it. She says, you know what, Judine? You need to go and talk to Ellen Grayson. She's amazing. She will help you. And I thought, you know what? It was happenstance that we met on Columbus Avenue. I'm going. The rest, as they say, is history. I promise you, Bobby would be nowhere where he is if it wasn't for Gateway and Ellen Grayson, because they told us explicitly what needed to be done. A, B, and C. I followed it like I did a script, okay? I did everything that they said. And I tell you, he's a different kind of child. His cousins and family are like, boy, Judine, what's going on with Bobby? I said, he's in the right setting with the right people and the most amazing school ever. What school is that? The Gateway School. So I'm going to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Gracias. I can't even explain how deeply we love Gateway, because if it was not for Gateway and Ellen Grayson, the admissions director, and her team, Bobby would not be where he is. He is thriving. He is confident. He speaks up for himself. He understands what he needs in the classroom. He said to me the other day, and I had tears in my eyes, he said to me two things. One, Mommy, all I have to do is look in Google Classroom for the notes, and then I connected with the book, and there's the answers. I went, hallelujah, this is great. And then he read the directions for him to take a COVID test, and he read the directions back to me. And I went, honey, if that's not the universe, the celestial choreography, divine intervention, I don't know what is. And ladies and gentlemen, the fabulous admissions director of Gateway, the lady you need to know, Ellen Grayson.
I mean, Judine, you make me blush. It's also very hot in here, so I've got that going. I have to say, there's so much of what Judine is saying and what Laurie said. As they're talking, I'm getting the images back to the first days where I met both. I mean, really both, and began the admissions process. Before I say that, I want to say, if you've never seen Judine do bell kicks, it's worth it. That's what it is worth it. So. A lot of what you're saying now, I hear you talking about the practicality. You're saying Bobby came home and he read, off of the COVID box of what to do, the practicality of what we're teaching, and the struggle of thinking of a child's reading off of a box, right, and not being able to read those directions. But that's true. This is what we see and hear every single day. And the truth is listening to both of you speak. And I can get very emotional thinking that. I always say during open houses, I shouldn't wear mascara. I start to tear, I'm always crying. We don't leave Gateway with a dry eye, right? Is because it really is true. It's very overwhelming. It's very emotional. It's very heartfelt. Those first few days when we're talking to parents and fielding phone calls, we're here to help. We want to help. And it is so overwhelming for families. You begin a process usually with a sort of negative parents conference or an interaction. Some people have already well known that their children have been struggling, but they didn't know kind of where they were in that process. They didn't realize that they really weren't able to write or to read or maybe to do mathematics. They just didn't know where sort of their placement was in that class. And we'll talk about the learner profile. You heard Laurie start to talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about that too. But it has to start somewhere. And it starts with a phone call. Help is available. It's very overwhelming to find that. It's really tricky. And we're going to talk a little bit about kind of methodology, how to go. You see Latoya there. Soon we're going to hear from Latoya about finding the right people to help channel you to schools like ours. I mean, Gateway's program is amazing. And I'm not embarrassed to say that. I'm proud. One of the things I always like to say is that, you know, Gateway is a school for bright children who learn differently. It's the most succinct way of saying it. Students in our school are very bright. They need different methodology. They need a different way to learn. A little bit about the learner profile in our school. Gateway is a school for children who've been diagnosed with a LBLD, right? A language-based learning difference or disability. And that encompasses receptive language or an expressive language challenge, possibly a pragmatic language challenge that is secondary, usually to an expressive or a receptive language problem. Dyslexia, dysgraphia, could be children who struggle with auditory processing problems. It could be a child who has a language processing problem. It might be a student who has anxiety that is really stemming from their academic challenges. Students who are ADHD, students who have an executive dysfunction. I just want to say that you can have an executive dysfunction without being formally diagnosed as attention deficit. However, if you are attention deficit, you will certainly have an executive dysfunction. And, you know, also, I think, you know, students who have dyscalculia, a real inability to calculate numbers. I might have said dysgraphia already, but students who are dysgraphic have trouble putting pen to paper. So that's part of our learner profile. That is our students with LBLD, a little bit of piece of that. If you're not yet at the process where you've discovered or understand the diagnosis and you're just first getting started, I think the best way of doing that is to have someone who can help you through the process, somebody like Latoya from ACES, right, who is a consultant who can help bring you along the way. Coming to our open houses, which we generally do weekly or every other week. We're back to doing in-school tours. We'd love to tour you around our gorgeous facility. The facility is gorgeous. It's just tons of space, tons of light. I was talking to a group today. I was touring a big group today, and we said that, you know, we have so much space. And I thought about that, the figurative side of that, you know, giving kids space to learn, giving the opportunity to take a walk because you need movement, right? Giving them time to process information. These are some of the blessings and the gifts, you know, that we have at Gateway, and we talk about, you know, all of the time. I think, you know, when I hear Judine talking about how Gateway was a game changer in their life, or Laurie talking about her daughter's process, it really is a school that changes a life's trajectory. You know, this really is a school that alters a path. And we would love to share more and to tell you more about it. I think, again, talking a little bit about the process, I'm going to throw the mic over to Latoya, who can talk to you a little bit about how you can get started in working with, you know, a consultant like Latoya.
Thank you so much, Ellen, and everyone on the call. My name is Latoya Allen, and I am the founder of ACES, Admission Consulting and Educational Services. And we are simply here to guide and help families to navigate this complex independent school admission process. And I use that word complex because that's exactly what it is. So if you're a parent, you're feeling frustrated, like, I can't solve this. What is wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. It's just the way the process is. And that's why there are companies, consulting companies, and like myself, that will walk you through every step of the way. So if you're sitting there and, you know, as Judine talked about, you hear that diagnosis and your heart falls to the bottom, call. You're like, what's my first step? Your first step is to reach out to ACES. We are here to answer all your questions, all the anxieties, everything you have. We will tell you the professionals you need to contact, right? And help you to do so. If you reach out, I'm like, I can call Ellen for you and I can make that first step for you, right? We are a bridge, right? When you think about, well, what is a consultant? You're sitting there, you're perplexed, you don't know. We are a bridge builder, and ACES is that bridge builder for you. So if you are sitting there and you have this diagnosis, you don't know where to go, reach out to ACES. We have a wonderful relationship with Gateway. It is fantastic working with Ellen and Laurie and just being a part of, helping with the team. And so if you, again, families, you're feeling like you don't know where, you haven't had an evaluation, you don't know even where to go to start that process, right? You're hearing sort of like families tell you, well, your child is learning a little differently, you don't know where to go. We can help you with every step of that way. So it's a fabulous team, and we look forward to hearing and talking with families. And we're really here to support you every step of the way.
For that, it does take, a call and some support in that way. Where does the process go? What would be the steps after that, right? So the steps after that are we start communication and we begin with an application process, which we can help guide you through. If it's overwhelming, we'll take you through that process. We always advise coming to an open house or doing a tour so you get a better chance to see the school, see the facility, see the kids, see the school in action. It's really, it's exciting to see it. I think it really, you really look at education differently when you come in and say, wow, we didn't even know this existed. This is available, right? And then from there, what we do is we go through the process of identifying if your student is a likely candidate for Gateway.
Mhm.
And that takes a couple of weeks to do. And then what we do is we organize either an online screening, a Zoom screening. Hopefully we'll be back in the building more with students in the building, but we're having students in the building now as well. And we begin by having, you heard Judine talk about Bobby came in. So this was pre-COVID, and Bobby did come in. We had multi-day visits, usually a half-day visit. We like to start with a half-hour, 20-minute, half-hour Zoom. It helps get to know each other. It helps us understand where the groupings are. We'd invite you in for a visit, possibly have a student ambassador help show your student around as we're touring you, as my team tours you. We like to stand about 15 feet back so they get a chance to kind of be off on their own. They all make it to the gym to shoot baskets. They all do. Doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter, girl, boy, doesn't matter. Everyone is there and they make
The
it to
number
the
one
gym.
goal.
That's it.
No pun intended.
And yes, and we love that. It's a nice opportunity for them to see that warmth in the school. And then, if we're able to bring you in for a little bit of a longer visit, we try to do that when we can. I know COVID's been a little bit of an obstacle, but we seem to be, climbing that hurdle. So I think we're kind of ready to have some kids back in during the day. And then
Yes.
what we do is we talk to you a little bit about the findings of the screening. And hopefully we're able to offer you a seat at Gateway. And we talk to you, from the beginning to the end and take you all the way through the process.
If I can add to that, one of the things I think I heard so clearly out of Judine and also out of Latoya is that we recognize that the road you're traveling and may have traveled is not the road you thought you were going to travel. This is different. And as Latoya said, it feels daunting. It feels overwhelming. It is big, but it is manageable. And at Gateway, thanks to Ellen, thanks to our admissions team, thanks to our administrators, our goal is to make sure somebody is almost literally, but certainly figuratively, taking you by the hand every step of the way and making you feel supported, known, welcomed, and recognized, because we know that if you don't feel that you can be a part of the community, your child probably isn't going to feel that way either. Gateway is a place everybody who walks these halls is going to feel safe, recognized, known, and loved. And that this is a different journey. It's a great journey, but it's not a journey you were initially planning on. And we recognize that and plan. How far can I take this metaphor? Plan the map accordingly.
Laurie, I think what you're saying is absolutely right. It is very daunting and overwhelming in the beginning. What you realize, I think, later on in the process is it's all part of process, right? That's part of it. And you can hear Judine say about those first days. I remember, the day you walked in for the open house. I remember meeting Bobby for the first time, of course, I remember returning Bobby at the end of his visit, and all of the, nervousness, anxiety about the visit, seeing a new school. But it really is a lot about not looking at what you're leaving behind, because that's not working. That's not working, right? It's
Mhm.
about looking ahead at what you're getting. It's about looking ahead and going, wow, there's so much here for my child, and seeing the services we offer. I do want to mention that, in our
Yeah.
school, we have related services. In our school, we call them groups. The kids call them groups. Also, just to take it a step back, either from there, our school is a small school, intentionally so. There are so many gifts of being a smaller size school. And so for us, in the lower school, which is age oriented, not grade oriented. So the students are grouped by their ages. So it would be a 5 and 6-year-old class, 6 and 7-year-old class, 7 and 8, 8, 9, 9 and 10. 10, when you're turning 11 at Gateway, not in the middle of the year, but when you're 11, you're going into 5th grade at Gateway. The middle school has a 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Each of those grades has multiple cohorts or classes. So there could be 2 classes, or there could be 4 classes per grade, 2, 3, 4, and that's in 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So just to give you a sense, class sizes can be 9, 10, or 11 students in the lower school, and 10, 11, or 12 students in the middle school. In the lower school, there are 2 teachers in a class. In the middle school, there are 1. They're getting older. We're looking at the horizon, and we're going to be getting ready for them. But yeah, for that transition for when they graduate Gateway. The related services, or the groups that we offer in the lower school, it's a 90-minute block of time school-wide, and you always go with your class. So you go with your whole class to groups. In the lower school, that looks like 3 30-minute sessions, 30, 30, 30, occupational therapy, language therapy, and social development. When you turn 8 at Gateway, so after 7, we drop the occupational therapy as a group or as a related service. There might be students that get that externally, but at Gateway, now you're going to get 45 and 45, still that 90-minute block. You don't lose recess, you don't lose art, you don't lose science. You're always with your cohort in class. You're not being pulled out separately than your class. You're going to get that 45 minutes of social development and 45 minutes of language therapy. Additionally, the language therapists go back into the class with the full group another time a week. Sometimes they're there even more often, and they're doing things like critical thinking, inferencing skills, research, okay, with the full class. And again, that's age oriented to their grades. That's the related services that we offer at Gateway as well. I think that's, important to mention, because it's intensive learning. That's an intensive process. So very different than being pulled out 45 minutes once or twice a week and potentially missing some of the program. Our entire program is core. Everything we offer is part of the program, right? Your arts, your science. And I think a lot of students get pulled out and often get miss their program.
And if I can add to that, looking at it from the student perspective, while the adults in their world are working tirelessly to make sure that every single need is met and strength is focused on, from the kids' perspective, they're in school. This is their experience day in and day out. They have after-school clubs. They've got the musical. They've got sports. They've got their humanities, their ELA, their science, their math. It's the same program that their friends who are in quote unquote more traditional programs might be in. So for the first time, they don't feel different. They just are part of their program. And one of the things they do have, because they can look at either side of themselves, they can look on either side and see students who learn like them, and those students become their friends long beyond Gateway.
That's right.
Ellen referred to.
I'd love it. Can I also add a little bit about the outplacement process? Because I think that's
where I was
so
going.
important to talk about. So, first we usher you in, but eventually your child is going to be either in the position where they no longer need the support of Gateway, and we call that an early exmit. Those are students that would be going on before graduation. But also our graduates, our graduating class. And there's an outplacement process. And that also stems out of the admissions office. It's called admissions and outplacement. We manage all of that very much like a private consultant would do. In fact, exactly like that, where we walk a family through the outplacement process. We actually begin it in the beginning of the 7th grade year for our rising graduates, and the year before a student would be finishing their final year at Gateway for a student who would be considered an early exmit. And we begin that process literally by having a meeting, just like this, could be Zoom, could be in person. And we start having a meeting and talking about the process itself, hopes, dreams, aspirations, the schools that families are leaning towards, schools that they may have no idea. We'll start to talk about schools, and then we meet again. That happens in February. We also have a full grade meeting. We started very early because we want to give our families the opportunity to do some spring visits if they want. And then what we do is we go through the process and have an additional meeting in June. And then we have yet another meeting in September. And in September is when we really nail down the final list of schools. And that's where we start to have families go through the application process. Again, we are helpful in that way. We do a lot of the background work with phone calls to schools, with filling out paperwork when families need help. In that way, it's really a complete service that we offer. Families might seek out public school. They might seek out specialized public school. We've had students who've gone on to some of those. They'll seek out independent schools, often because of class size, specialized schools, day schools, boarding schools, specialized boarding schools. And we've seen a rise in interest in parochial and religious. And so it really is the full gamut of schools that our students are exmitting to. You can certainly see that list. It's on our website and it's current. I think the real bragging rights after that are to talk about that we actually keep in touch with our families all the way through the process. So we know where our students have gone on and are going on to college. That list is available too. But it's really impressive. And I think when you're talking to students post their Gateway experience, I think families alike, and you heard Judine talking, it's really one of those things where without the foundation of the Gateway education, I think it's really tricky to say whether or not they'd hit that, that highest potential. I think, Judine, what do you feel that you'd like to add on?
I'd like to add for families not to be alarmed about how much the school costs, because I think that would put most people in that kind of a moment. But I'm here to tell you, it is worth every penny, because if you do not deal with the situation at hand that's happening with your child at a very young age, you will pay exponentially in the end. And none of us want to do that. So however you want to gather the funds, however you need to do it, because it's going to be worth it. And you will be so glad that you did it. You'll have to make a lot of sacrifices. Most families will tell you, if we got in a room, at the Waldorf Astoria, honey, for drinks, we don't tell you that. We've made a lot of sacrifices, but then we will also say, our children are in spaces where they feel accepted, where they know how to ask for what they want, and that's because of Gateway.
And there are ways of, go ahead.
So there are ways we
I
can
was going to
support.
jump in. So I thank you. So with all the wonderful services you outlined, Ellen, and just amazing part of Gateway, I was going to say that's another daunting part of this process for families, right? They say, yes, this is a school for my child. I have accepted that my child learned difference. I want this. And they look at the tuition and then it's like, oh,
Right.
And understand that, no, please don't let that be a deterrent. Reach out to us. There is process and ways we can help families
That's right.
to finance and support a gateway education. Do not let money be why you don't pick up that phone, you don't reach out. Reach out to ACES. There are steps, clear steps in process. And as Laurie mentioned, it is so manageable. The beautiful part about this is when families are sitting there, frustrated and overwhelmed, and they reach out and I'm like, nope, here's step one. Here's what you do. Here's what you do. And like every step of the way, we help you to finance, go through the process.
That's right.
It's a process, but we're here for you. As Lou said, ACES, we will hold your hand every step of the way. We will answer all your anxious, anxiety-filled questions and just let you know that this is manageable and possible. Don't let money stop you from reaching out.
Because
We-
they are
we-
fair questions. I'm sorry, Ellen, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, no, it really is. I think it would be something, again, that's very overwhelming, and Judine, we've talked about this, right? There is, we are here to help with that. We really are here to, and there are many times where we've had students where we've gone back to the drawing board and gone back and it's happened, and they are gateway or they're grads, so there are ways of accessing this education. We have to start somewhere. We have to start from the beginning, and we will use those channels and help.
So we have, one of the things Latoya said, we are here to help if you want to learn more about it. I started out this webinar by saying, welcome to Gateway. I want to bring it to a conclusion by saying, we hope you'll want to learn more about our program and how we can work with you and your family. If you would like to learn more, there will be a list of resources following this webinar and also on our website. I look forward to meeting you in person or on Zoom. We want to thank you for your time today. We want to thank you for your interest. And first and foremost, we want to thank you for taking the first steps you're taking to support your child and your family, because that's what it's all about. Every conversation at Gateway will always start with the child at the center of the discussion. This is about your child, and we're eager to meet him or her. Thanks so much for being a part of our webinar today, and I wish you a great day.
Thank you.